Right, so I am doing a little bit of filler between Project 1919, which if you haven't seen Project 1919, how to on internet, and I know that's most of you, I would recommend stopping this now and watching it. I'm actually a little proud of that. Not in terms of production value, but just like in general, I'm proud of it. Regardless though, between this and World 3 News, what am I calling now? Morning Perfect Base. I thought I would post a little something. I'm gonna be posting, playing a little bit of Stellaris, because I haven't played Stellaris in a while, and I got notes for my movies from Star Wars and Cats. Usually I'll type those out and make a little point-by-point blog about it. I don't know, I never felt that format was really great. So what I'm gonna be doing is I'm gonna be doing a scene-by-scene movie reaction recreation. I'm just going to be talking about the movie from my notes while I play some Stellaris Cat People. Because I figure Stellaris, Star Wars, Cat People, cats. There you go, done. And I would like for those to be sooner and more topical, but it's like the 9th of January already. Those things came out 2 weeks from the end of December, so they're not topical, so meh. And I'm sure that there are enough boring nerds on the internet that won't shut the fuck up about Rise of the Skywalker. By the way, why is it Rise of the Skywalker? Why? Because it has the same abbreviation as Revenge of the Sith. And it's not like poetry. It doesn't rhyme. It's the same freaking thing. It's confusing is what it is. And you take 26 and you put it to the power of 4, and that's how many combinations in English letters there were that they could. Anyway, I'm playing Darkest Dungeon. The brothel is locked. Gambling in the bar will be cheaper though, which is great. That's how you reduce stress. Stress is the biggest bitch in this game. You can see I've got Cumin, Villa Hardane, my roster on the right there. They have pulsating spiky crowns around them. That just means that they've reached their maximum stress level. You can tell by the little World of Darkness willpower boxes underneath their names, and if it's full, that's bad. They get the affliction. It gets double full and they die. That's usually a problem for me. Usually I will bitch the fuck out, because by the time they get the affliction, they're just making everyone else more stressed too. And sometimes it's going to be stressed, sometimes it's going to be crazy. I call it the same thing. It's an insanity meter, basically. And this is one of the little events the town has. I like the events, generally because the events are good. I don't need another kick in the pants after playing this game. Everyone gets fucking crazy. For no reason. It's impossible to get. Money is hard to get. The bosses, I'm gonna bitch about the fucking. I recorded this before, and luckily the video didn't catch, but it was me playing with my top tier crew, who are all level 5, 4 or 5. Going up against a level 3 dungeon boss, and level 3 dungeon just fucking fucked my people the fuck up. It was embarrassing. And I think unfair, because the dungeons have levels. My guys have levels that are bigger than that level. I fought the boss, okay, a little hard for that level. I was technically cheesing it, but I wasn't cheesing it enough. And it's well, if the game's gonna tell me, I'm auctioning off special items, I'm auctioning off relics basically because money is hard to come by. I'm not really good at completing quests in this game. I put my people into the hospital and into the tavern and into the church just to try to keep them in peak shape, which is not financially viable. It costs 1,000 gold to put one person to recover stress or to remove a psychological condition. So at least 1,000, and I've gotten as many upgrades as I can to reduce the cost. It's still insane. Regardless, I'm going to do a little adventure here. I'm going to do a delve. This is where you plan. Sorry, I'm thinking about going into the Darkest Dungeon right now, and I'm like, fuck that. Okay, she's level 5. She's too fancy to go on a level 1 quest. This is the wheel. This is the foresty part. I forget what the warrens are. The ruins are just like regular old dungeon stuff, like parts of the house. I don't know what the cove is. I haven't sent a single mission to the cove because the cove starts at level 3, which might as well be level 4. But regardless, this is a pretty flexible team. I think I'm... The man-at-arms, there on the far left, he does buffs. Next up is the highwayman, who's my fucking... one of my original plank owners, the other one being dead. My original crusader, he died to one of those shitty bosses that I wasn't cheesing hard enough. So my new rule is cheesing all around. But you can see that the individual locations level up themselves. And as they do, the dungeons get harder. So the game itself is like, oh, you're going to need new recruits constantly to level up. But, you know, to keep yourself in the game. But eventually, like, all my level 1 missions are just going to be gone. All of my regions are going to level up too much. Anyway, this is provisioning. I'm awful at provisioning. Look, this shit sells for 75 a pop, right? And then when you're done, you have to sell it back to the same dick for like 5 gold. Honestly, fuck the economy of this game. Fuck it. I'm getting thousands of gold back, and then I'm fucking tanking it on a... Okay, it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Talking about my stuff. I'm trying to focus on projects for this year. One of my actual literal projects alongside creating a magic cube, doing programming, is actually working out. I'm like 2 for 5 this past week. But every day I get a new chance to add something to make those numbers better. And it's like 2 of 5, man. It's not that hard. It's just a little something every day. But, you know, you become very acclimated to not doing things. So we'll see how that goes. Yeah, so I've been working on the Beige and the Bold. At the end of last month, the lady I was working for was like, yeah, I want you to be here on the 23rd. I'm like, yes, I love that. There's nothing I love more on a holiday than to say to my family, I'm sorry, I'll be working. I used to work offshore. It was the best. It's great. However, it's been 2 years since I've been home. Well, since I've been in Louisiana. And I'm like, well, if she's going to give me this Monday before Christmas off, that's 10 days. And it'll make a lot of people shut the fuck up if I go to Louisiana. So it was kind of last minute. If I had been ahead of the Beige and the Bold production-wise, it would not have been a problem. But I wasn't. So I had to scramble around, get everything together, catch some buses, go to Beaumont, go to Houma, go to Houston. I had some time to edit an episode, but not to do like the finalizing of it, the final editing. And I had my laptop, I couldn't bring my desktop with me. I'm really used to desktop. And there's little symbols underneath the items in the thing. Anyway, I think it might keep track of what does and doesn't work for you as you experiment with things. I'm not 100% there. Right, these are fungus guys. I like putting the Grave Robber up here. She's very flexible. The Hellion's also flexible. I think if I were to keep... I've run a dungeon before with those two and the Jester. And their formation is simply, it can't be wrong. The formation can't be wrong. Like, no matter what happens, those guys land on their feet and come out swinging. It's a great setup. Regardless, this is my Highwayman. These guys can bleed, so I'm going to see if I can make them bleed. Bleed and Blight are both types of damage over time. You can see the resistances here. I believe my Grave Robber can make Blight, but Fungus are pretty resistant to Blight, so it's not in my best interest to do that. It's pretty slim odds for affecting them. So anyway, I was in Louisiana for 10 days towards the end of December. I missed my last 2 episodes of the Beige and the Bold from December, and I did not get the remaster done because I was waiting to do the remaster at the last minute like I shouldn't be doing. I should be getting that remaster started as soon as the voting stops because it is timely. It takes time. And so I had to rush that out. I believe that got uploaded Tuesday, maybe Wednesday morning. It was rough. And I'm still trying to catch up on the videos from December and the episodes from December. And as a way to make it up to Patreons especially, who are actually giving me money to do this, and to regular listeners, what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be watching Star Trek Picard. I make enough from the Patreon to pay for that. I have been apprehensive about watching Star Trek Picard because I think it's going to be just a gritty reprise. I'm really skeptical about all of these renewals and reprisals and blah, blah, blah. And Patrick Stewart's like, oh, he has as much to offer than TNG, and there's so many opportunities to work with the character. And that's not working with the character of Captain Picard. That's not, he's not a Star Trek guy, okay? That's his job, okay? If I were to be hired back at a job that I worked 20 years ago, and they were to say, oh yeah, it's going to be a better job that's going to allow you to round out your resume, I'd be like, super sweet. If they were to say, yeah, it's going to be doing the exact same thing you were doing 20 years ago, I would say, fuck off. And so, it's not going to be the same thing. Patrick Stewart, Sir Patrick, likes acting. And as long as I think he has a lot of variety in the expression, and the character's interesting to him, he's going to do it. Whether that character is Jean-Luc Picard or not, whether that series is Star Trek or not, it doesn't fucking matter. So I'm resigned that there was a Variety interview earlier this week that I read, and that's what it's going to be. It's like, oh, we're going to deconstruct TNG. Oh, Starfleet's also its moral center. I would object principally to a single character realigning the moral center of Starfleet. Someone standing on their soapbox and saying the truth, or a Picard speech, and suddenly Starfleet gets their shit together. I don't like the great man theory of these things. If you listen to the Beige and the Bold, I know that's not all of you, that is a big complaint of mine, that you have this ensemble of people who have so much to teach each other, and they're just not written that way. And again, it's counterfactual for me to say these characters, who are comprised of everything that is written and acted for them, are not representing their true breadth in the writing and acting. All that's in them is what's written and acted. But there's so much more to these people than there is to these people. And it's frustrating to watch. The very talented Patrick Stewart played the exceptional character of Jean-Luc Picard. But Picard is a Mary Sue. I've said this before. And at what he is. Come on. I should have stuck some sauce in that meat. Regardless. So I think it's going to be pretty generic shit. They have a Vulcan or not a Reman. There was a Proto-Vulcan race they met in one episode, and he's got a sword. And, well, there's a guy who is a Vulcan with a sword. I'm like, he could be a member of that race. Because we're kind of fuzzy on what the Prime Directive is with them. But, well, anyway, it just looked really cliche. I see Jerry Ryan in clips that are all from one episode, and I'm like, she might die. They might just kill her for shock value. And you people think they won't, because you think Star Trek's progressive. Star Trek used to be progressive. Now it's an institution. And I hope I'm not the first person to tell you that. Yeah. See, the thing with the Grave Robber is, the Grave Robber hides for a turn, which protects her from attacks. It's one reason I'm willing to put her on the front line sometimes. Because she can always, on her turn, stealth, which makes her unattackable, and then it moves her to the back of the line, which is less of a target. The turn after that, she gets a hell out of nowhere damaging attack, which is great. And I'm trying to focus more on doing damage in this game. Also, stealth isn't a big deal. It's becoming a bigger deal as I move up the ranks more. But luckily, my Highwayman has had from the start a way to deal with stealth, and I was tempted to respec him to get rid of that. I'm glad that I didn't, simply because it's one of those little utility things that I'm glad I keep around. It's very hard to track in this game because you have a roster of like 16, smaller than that. I've expanded the roster, expanded my roster about 16 folks, and It was hard to keep track of which one does scouting good, which one gives you the ability when you're camping to not be surprised, which guys are mobile, which guys give you what buff. Yeah, that grape shot. That grape shot misses a lot, and I don't even know if the debuff is worth it. I don't think Picard's gonna be great. I've been apprehensive, and so I'm like, yeah. At the same time, I really like Picard. Like advertising. I'm sorry. They chose Picard because Picard tests well. Because you like Picard. Like regardless of everything I've said, you like Picard. What do you want? So I'm gonna take the risk for my listeners and Patreons, and I'm gonna pay the money they've given me to scout Picard, to watch the episode live for the first time, and to give my emotional reactions, because I don't think that it's going to intellectually be good. I don't think it's going to be good on principles. I don't think it's going to be good Star Trek. It may not even be a good TV show. I think 50-50 might be a good TV show. But if you watch it because you like Picard, you're like, I want to see more Picard and have fun. And God damn it, you're entitled to watch Picard and have fun. There we go, that's her ultimate. That ultimate gives her a big debuff, and I don't use it much because of that, but I should be more willing to use it as a finisher. Ah, you bitch. Okay. Right. So that's what I'm going to be doing. I'm going to be having a partner, not Derek. Derek's been kind of lukewarm on that. You know, generally, he hangs around and he does this because we're friends and it's fun to hang around and do this. So I've been talking with him recently about where we are going forward. And yeah, it's a small dungeon. Sometimes it'll whammy you and be like, hey, if you don't eat 4 food, all your people lose health. And it's like, you jackasses. So you generally want to keep 4 food in the kitty. More if you've got more dungeon to explore. I've lost dungeons because I did not... Oh, look, more food. I did not keep enough food on hand. Torches are nice. I'll grope around the dungeon in the dark. And there are a few characters that actually increase torch level. So, there you go. See, hunger. Bam. 4-point hit. If you hit it, you get a little bit of health back. If you lose it, if you don't hit it, you're going to lose a lot of health. So that's going to be happening Thursday the 23rd. I'd like to get episodes up Friday morning, honestly. But whoever I end up doing it with, we're going to sit down, we're going to watch it, we're going to note our reactions, and then we're going to put it up for senior officer Patreons, who are senior officer Patrons in December, because this is who I'm trying to make things right with. And then we're going to do just regular Patrons a few days after that, and then a week later it's going to go up to regular listeners. Even then, only on the Patreon. It's not going to go in the actual beige and the bold feed. I'm pretty loosey-goosey with what goes into the beige and the bold feed. I'm not going to put that up there. That's going to be Patreon only. Because it's a website. You can just go there. You can listen to it. Regardless. Yeah. So that's the status on the Patreon thing. My goal is to work ahead a little bit. I think we're going to be missing recording this weekend, so we're going to have to make it up next weekend. Or maybe I should have some solo sessions in the bank already. There are some pretty good episodes in season 5, and God knows I could stand to do a do-over for some of these. Just kind of warm up, hit some of my points, and then have it a little more polished when we go back over it. You know, with Derek later on. So yeah, what else happened? Oh yeah, I'm making a cube in Magic. I'm generally out of Magic. I'm going to be trying to get further out of it this year, but one of my sister's kids wants to play Magic, but they're like, people my age. You know, some of us have money, some of us don't. Magic is a money pit. We can always spend more money, and that makes better decks. Nobody wants to play, blah, blah, blah. And that's all fucking legitimate concerns. And the answer to that, the solution to Magic is the cube. A collection of single cards which can be drafted by, 1 to 8 players, and they make decks, and they're fairly well balanced against each other. And you don't have to buy new cards. You just draft from the cube, and you make decks. Bigger's generally better. Mine's going to be a minimal cube. Just big enough for 8 players to play. I doubt they're going to have 8 players. And honestly, I don't think, with less than 8 players, they're not going to see all the cards in every game. So some cards aren't going to show up, some cards are. I'm also going to make these little draft cards, which explain rules to you and explain principles of drafting and deck building and things like that. Something that's useful for new players. If I do that, though, I either need to print those cards, or I need to sleeve everything. And it's like, I don't do that. So I do actually have some leftover card stickers from, it'll come to me, Dead Parents Dungeon, ironically enough. Oh man, that Helion's so close to death. See, I got a full-time healer. I think she's just full-time healing that Hellion, and it's not working, man. It is just not working. These fungus guys are pretty tough. Right, so moving on. I've got the skeleton set up for that. That cube. I need to... I've made a cube before, and I don't know if it was that great. I don't play it a lot. My friend Josh, he has made a cube, and it's pretty good. We've played a couple rounds with it. I enjoyed it immensely. I've done a lot of research. I've read a lot of how to make a cube theories. A lot of them are like, we'll just spend $100 or $200 on cards. Like, well, go fuck yourself. But still, it's helpful. I need to make a skeleton this week or next week. Another project I'm doing is my dad has a bunch of vinyls that he has recorded to MP3 in Audacity, and I need to... He's like, well, I don't want to go through like every single one of them and manually cut them up and manually make the tracks and manually make the folders and my music library. It's not worth going back to that torch. I should be paying more attention. So I'm like, well, I'm sure you can write in Python. Audacity runs in Python. I'm sure you can do a Python thing where the user enters the artist name, the album name, and it pulls up a list of tracks. You go, yeah, it's that track, it's that album. And then it goes, okay, let's find some silences. Bing, bang, boom. Here are the silences. Export them to correspond to the album. There are a few errors. Do you want to do this again? I don't think that'll be complicated. I've written the pseudocode for it. I've looked into Audacity's pipeline commands that it uses for macros. So, god damn. This isn't the hardiest of adventuring parties, but damn it, my healer's gotten too much stress. When they do that, they'll usually go light side or dark side. Usually dark side, it seems. Go ahead and drink that, and that'll give you some additional dodge. So maybe you'll survive some hits. No telling. Gotta go with you. Yeah, I'm gonna do the Grave Robber. She needs to survive another round. She's tanking right now. Although, not for long. Now she gets a debuff. What's a debuff? Ah, it's cumulative. I like that the debuffs are cumulative, but oh, damn, they're scary. Yeah, fuck. Ah, she has so much dodge. It's tough. Right. So I'd like to get some more progress made with that. Probably just some basic Python shell to mess around with Audacity programs. Just say, hey, open, close, save file, etc., etc. I think it'd be really cool. I'm doing something I've been doing, but that I'm going to be doing. I've pushed off. It was on the projects list, but it's like too many projects, man. It's the last tournament for Magic the Gathering. Because I've wanted to like do a big tournament for all my decks and just say, you know what, these are my decks forever. They get upgraded, but that's it. Because I'm out of buying Magic, generally. I have a box of Dominaria I got back when Dominaria came out. And I've been slowly working through that. I did some drafts over the holidays. Now I've got some packs. I need to take all the decks I've accumulated, kind of reconcile everything. Then I'm going to put them into a tournament, play them off each other, and make 300-word fiction daily that corresponds to the tournament. Maybe not a piece for every battle, but something. And then have a storyline and have consequences. And as folks jump into the lower tier, it's going to be a Swiss tournament. I've set up a macro in Excel where you just give it the deck list and it'll figure out how many brackets, and it does all of the Wizards of the Coast Swiss tournament rules for it. All I need to do is enter the wins, losses for each round. It'll incorporate that into a larger database and then create the bada bing next round. I'm a little proud of that. I'm going to use that. As folks drift down to the lower half, I'm going to actually throw more gears into it, because the lower half of the tournament's probably going to be out. And as I, as the tournament goes on, the people who are lower down are going to be filtering up. So I can throw more wrenches into those games that are interesting without having to worry too much about whether or not I'm messing with the final results. And I get to do more play styles. I get to use like environments. One of the things in writing a story is like, well, if you're a fire mage and you're doing world fire, or if you're a soldier guy and you're summoning all these soldiers, then that has to interact with the environment around you, which Magic doesn't simulate. I think it used to. Yeah, I'm retreating. It's going to make everyone a little more stressed. But quite frankly, I just don't have the HP to go into one more battle. One more battle, and I would have had the quest rewards. I would have had the deeds. I would have had the 4,500 gold. I just didn't have the HP for it. I was going to lose characters. These are some of my top tier guys. And I don't know why I was doing so shit in a little dungeon like that. I think I just probably needed a hardier guy at the front. And that's the deal, is that the hardier guys are harder to shift around like that. I thought my flexibility could save me. I think I just wasn't flexible enough. What we got here? Medical ward is free. Fantastic. I think 2 of my guys just got diseases. So let's see, what's this? My replacement Crusader's better. Medical ward's free. Everybody fucked up. Alright, let's put people in the sanitarium. Quick, you get rid of tetanus. -5 accuracy. Jesus. Creeping cough. -20% damage. It's so important. One of the reasons she's on the team is for the damage she deals. So let's try to get some people's... See, that was all free, thank God. So now fixing him. It's 1,100, 1,200 gold. I'd like the 7,000 I brought back. I'd have more, again, I'd have like 11,000 gold if I'd actually beaten that dungeon. But still, jeez. I'm just gonna, probably spending too much money, but I do want to get these guys stressed down so they're free for missions later. Anyway, I've been using World Anvil because I do want these stories need to take place on planes. So I'm like, well, I want some of my own planes. And I've thought some up, kind of off the cuff, and then some I've had refined for a while. Some I'm going to pull from A Lair Somewhere, if you remember that project, kind of a text-based comic that I did weekly for a while. I really liked it. It's Magic the Gathering based from when I was really tired with the Magic the Gathering story. You can see there are different ways to do upgrades. Those 3 buildings on the left, those are how you reduce stress and get rid of insanity. You get heroes for free, I think because you're supposed to be piling them up into the graveyard. Nomad Wagon just gives you overpriced relics. I'm trying to create a team of Houndmasters. I'd like to unleash the Houndmasters on a dungeon. They're all pretty self-sufficient, so... Oh wow, he's already upgraded. Oh, that's nice. And get in there. So I've used World Anvil, which the Overly Sarcastic Productions, a really cool YouTube channel, they are occasionally sponsored by World Anvil. And so I'm like, I'll use World Anvil, see what that's like. Take it out, kick the tires. It's okay. It's got one of those puffy websites. I don't know how to explain it. If you have like a simple markdown website with text, and you're like, click on this, and it takes you to a link, and then you do the thing at the link, and you're like, yeah, and you hit save, you're like, yeah. It's that simple. That's not how puffy websites work. Puffy websites have like all their text is pictures, and you go to like an arena. It does like the pop-ups that aren't pop-ups. It just blacks out the website and puts a tiny window in front of you that you can't resize, and you just have to work with that shit. And it takes just a fraction of a second too long to respond to you. World Anvil definitely leans towards that spectrum of website. And I'm not a fan. There was a thing where some of the text that it does use is when you create a bunch of, I wanted to create a lot of planes, right? And then I wanted to create locations within the plane. So you create all these locations, and you can't create ever so many without publishing some of them. So it's a paywall thing, and you're like, okay, all right, you need to get paid. I don't begrudge paywalls, but it seems like I'm trying to make like a world here, guys. Like, I know it's like two dozen planes or so with unique, 4 or 5 individual locations within them. I get that. It's a lot of work, for me, and it's a lot of data. Well, it's not a lot of data. It's fucking a pittance of data, but that is the core service they provide, and naturally they're going to throttle that to make a profit. That's how they pay to stay open, to have people there and website up. Regardless, so I make all these things, and then I go to the visual. And it's not like a text list. You can't sort it. It's a series of tiles, right? It's tiled with big boxes above it. I don't know how to put images in there, and even if I wanted to, I couldn't. I'm not going to make 24 images, 24 fucking planes. I'm not an artist. It's not my thing. I just have text descriptions. So, on each of these giant gray tiles, they have the text that is the name of the file below it. And the deal is, you can save a file. You can save a plane with no name. So then, how do you get to that? It's a gray box with no text. Click on the box, does nothing. There's no text to click on. It's bad design, is what it is. I eventually looked in the FAQ to bring up a different list of all my files, which would let me... it's still not like a decent list. It's just a good functional list where I could actually click on the data structure itself and go, yes, delete this one. Yes, edit this one. So it's a little frustrating. Maybe it works better on phones. Maybe there's a fantastic app. I don't know. I'm not an app guy. I try to work on computer systems of some substance. Computer systems I can plug into a printer, So it's been okay. I honestly feel like a motherfucking Word document in Google Docs would work a lot better. I'm tempted to switch over, but I've had to shelve that. It's going to go into February simply because of the coding thing, and the Magic Cube thing, and the working out thing, and just work stuff. So, yeah. Aside from that, it's just been news things. I just found ContraPoints a few months ago, and now ContraPoints is having this big controversy. And the thing is that, like, she said something about her personal experience, and I was like, well, your personal experience wasn't sanitized through my acceptable ways of talking about non-binary spaces. And then everyone who had a problem with ContraPoints comes out of the woodwork to be dicks. And so she canceled her Twitter account, which is not what you call a power move, but whatever. And you uninstall the app is what you do. You uninstall the app and you log out, and then you do something else with your life and your fucking rather profitable goddamn Patreon. But maybe that's just me being a dude and being like, if you react at all to when people are being shitty to you, then they win. And the goal as a man is to always just oppose and attack and exert control over every situation, and that's not healthy. And I realize that when I say this, it's not coming from a healthy space. But regardless, so she went dark, and then she came back, and I think she went dark again. I don't even know what her status is. And she did a video about it, which was allegedly supposed to be about someone else, then it was about her, and then she's like, I don't want to do YouTube drama. Like, that's literally what you're doing. You're doing YouTube drama. And it's weird because, like, I kind of had her back going into the video, and then coming out of it, I'm like, you're technically right, and you raise a lot of salient points that the people who are insulting you will never acknowledge because they're not interested in having a good conversation. They're interested in, like, from their position at the bottom of the social hierarchy, unjustly so at the bottom of a social hierarchy, shouldn't be that low just for being who they are, but they are. They're just going to reach up and drag down whoever's available to them. But I think that there are far more fundamental issues of being a celebrity on the internet that she completely leaves untouched. And then she leverages that to the degree where you say you're a smart person, you have to be aware of these dynamics. You're not mentioning these dynamics. You're using them to your benefit and not mentioning at all the drawbacks of that. So, like, it generally feels really disingenuous. And at the same time, like, generally factual for the things that she is talking about. Anyway, it's super wild, and I see people who are still, who are engaged in the same pattern of behavior of like, oh, she's still not morally pure. It's like, well, no, of course she's not morally pure. She's not here to be morally pure for you. She's not. I've been to BreadTube lately, which is the leftist branded arm of YouTube, which is not even left-wing politics. It's a lot of left-wing posturing. It's a lot of left-wing branding. It's like, oh, hey, look, I'm a BreadTuber like you. Watch my video. And there's a lot of people arguing about goddamn insubstantial shit, including this, including like incredibly long, rambling, pointless discussions related to whether ContraPoints meant what she said or didn't mean what she said, or oh, did she perform some other moral infraction while talking about her last moral infraction? And you know, when she talks about essentialism, the idea of, well, someone did this that didn't meet our orthodoxy. So they did something that was reflective of, for example, the racism in the world around us that permeates us, that a lot of white Americans are complicit in. They are therefore a racist. And you're like, well, maybe there's a slight difference between, you know, using a racist trope against someone who's not even of the race that the trope applies to, and being Joseph fucking Mengele. Regardless, it's really silly, and if you're not abreast of it, you don't need to be abreast of it. I recommend ContraPoints in general, because the deal is that she kind of talks to the middle. Like, she comes from the 4chan incel, fairly hard, I don't want to say hard right, hard fascist, hard internet wing of the internet. And you know, that's kind of who she talks to. She understands those perspectives, uses their language, and says, hey, you know, let's understand this perspective instead of just yelling about how they're wrong all the goddamn time. And what do you know? She has a following based on that. Based on not always hewing to the orthodoxy, but based on understanding the other side as something which is populated by people who she generally disagrees with, but whose perspectives are held by reasonable humans who have a certain perspective and way of looking at things that you can discuss without condoning. But that requires a certain amount of nuance that the internet just fucking hates. And anyway, that's why I recommend her. You're not going to agree with everything she says, but generally, the things she's doing have merit and can teach you something. I think it's far more challenging than a bunch of... a few weeks ago, I did some research to do... research into video essays on the internet. And a lot of it is just fucking oatmeal and branding. I should call it oatmeal too. And it was really disappointing. And, you know, what ContraPoints does is more gritty and more worthwhile than that. And I think expecting, like, looking at that grit and that not dynamicism, the facets of it, the complexity of it, and to go, yeah, but it doesn't agree with my view 100%. It's not going to pains to agree with my view. All of these things are indicative of a shit person, and fuck them, and let's reach out and let's hurt them. And it's like, well, I don't know, man. Like, fuck yourself. Like, be less aggressive about shitting on other people. Regardless, good channel, ridiculous debate. Well, oh yeah, I guess if I'm not talking about that, I'm talking about frickin' Iraq and Iran. So I guess there was some guys rolled up to one of our embassies. I haven't researched this. Some guys rolled up to our embassies, fucked it up, took out, I think, like a guard post at the front, and then we decided that we would kill a senior Iranian official for reasons in contravention of international law and even our own policies, because they made us feel bad. They frickin' ransacked our part of our embassy. And so they made us feel bad, so we had to kill a dude. Which again is always the entitled, disproportionate, completely unreasonable, balls first position of this administration of fucking dumbasses. So people were worried about World War III, which was also stupid, because Iran is not World War III. And no one that we could have World War III with gives a shit about Iran. None of them are going to bat for Iran. They're perfectly happy to watch us engage in an asymmetrical war that saps our military and financial strength, while Iran gets fucking crushed. They are just here to egg us on because they want to watch us fight. Iran itself doesn't want to fight because they don't want to be Iraq, but of a slightly higher challenge rating, which is kind of what they are. Like, you know, they're prepared for 3 wars: Israel, Saudi Arabia, and the United States. Don't get me wrong, it'd be harder than Iraq. And it would unquestionably be just awful for us to get into a third. I mean, we'd have like the set, right? We could trade in the risk cards and get the extra guys. If we had Iraq, Afghanistan, and Iran, we'd just ship things across Iran. We'd just be like, oh god, finally, one American colony in the Middle East full of oil. Why not? But you know, morally it would be bad. And long term, it would be another foreign war of indeterminable length that just sucks up men and money. But that's not 3 guys. I'm not going to use the drag for that. So, trust me, as soon as you start asking Trump voters to pitch in, according to a strict governmental guideline for like the draft, as soon as you're like, you have to help Trump, and they'll be like, sure, anything. Here, let me make cookies. And they'll be like, no, it's not cookies. You gotta go to the Middle East. They'll be like, ah, fuck that. It's awful. I think that support for Trump works as long as people are significantly enough divorced from the consequences of his actions. But enough political theory. It's not World War. I think I have little enough bleed left on my leper here that I don't think I need to blow the band. Ah, fucking goddamn dim light just as I go in here. I've also been resetting my passwords for the year, which is a pain in the ass. Part of that is trying to get rid of my magic accounts, because they don't have a magic account. No. Like 30 magic accounts, and they're like, hey, do you want to do your right to be forgotten? I'm like, yes, I would like to do the right to be forgotten. So I click there, fill out all the forms to the best of my ability, because I don't know all the shit for all my fucking magic accounts. And they go, here's an email. Do you want to just give us all your information in the email? Like, if you just filled it out in your fucking form, you dickbags. Anyway, it's manipulative, and I don't think it's within the spirit of right to be forgotten to demand I fill out the same form multiple times. It's just god awful. So I need to reply to that email and fucks with them, because it's just unbelievable how incompetent Wizards of the Coast. They've been doing this shit for like 20, 25 years now, man. It's like, get your shit together. Can I not just have one account? One account for me. But the sooner I'm done with that, the better. I think this is my last. It's my last battle of the dungeon. Yeah, 100% of rune battle is the last rune battle. So I might poke around here a little bit later, because I feel like I'm in really good shape. Oh yeah, the Madman. I hate the Madman so much. He's giving me so much stress. Look at that. My Hound guy and my Occultist. Pretty high stress. So that's not like awful stress, but I'm not a big fan. Sometimes the wolf guys will have, yeah, there you go, hit a missile. It's really great to fight pigs and stuff with the Hound guys. I'm realizing now that I should probably not send. Whenever I do a symbol, I'm a big fan of Miniature Nerd. He's a guy with a degree in classics. He's a Let's Player. He played Rome Total War. And the faction of Romans he played had to fight the Greeks. And his viewers were like, oh, hey, use the war dogs. He's like, oh, the war dogs aren't great. They can cause morale breaks, but they're not great in combat. But he ended up using them to kill a Greek king. And then, if I remember correctly, circumstances conspired that he could kill another Greek king. And yeah, let's poke around. Let's poke around the ruins here. The drops you get from the curios, those little light blue things, those are actually better after you've completed the dungeon. So that's one reason I've been passing up on some of them. You just need a certain amount of food and torches to keep you from losing too much sanity while you're poking around. Right, so he killed off 2 Greek kings in that playthrough. And I'm like, well, that's interesting. And then I noticed you can have Houndmasters here. And Houndmasters are interesting because they have a healing ability, but they don't heal other people, just themselves. They have, there you go, hunger. They have a stress reduction thing. And I thought it just worked for themselves, but apparently it works for the whole party. But it's very, very low stress. And they hit like a brick house. And they have a few status effect abilities. Like, you can make a whole team of Houndmasters. And then I thought, well... Thank you, printer. So, then I thought, shit, you make a whole team. You could go in there like you're taking down a Greek king and just clean the whole place out. So, one reason I have 2 Houndmasters here is because I'm grinding their XP. And another reason I got one off of the recruiting wagon earlier is because I want 4 of them, so I can make a whole team of Houndmasters, so I can go in there and yeah, and I'll take the stress. Like if you take out those heaps without a shovel, you take a little bit of damage and you take a decent amount of stress. But what are the benefits here? Stress, monster accuracy, monster crits, hero surprise, loot, player crits, monster surprise. You get a little more loot. I don't know. Really not worth it. I guess if I'm cheesing it a little bit, I can probably afford to get the light down and just fuck them up and take the fucking goddamn light. Right. So one day I'm going to have a pack of houndsmen with their own pack of dogs, and I'm looking forward to that day because I think that'll be a fun run. We're going to see what's up though. All right. Now, do I want to take this final battle on? I don't know, my stress is kind of high. I don't think it's critically high, though. I fucking packed would have been looted. Came all this way just for the pack. Fight, a bit of food, a bit of torch, a bit of band-aids. My stress. Let's get out of here. Alright. So that's it for this. Not much point to it. Just hanging out, playing Darkest Dungeon. I kind of hated this game at first. I've become oddly addicted to it. Maybe it's Stockholm Syndrome, because it just keeps hitting you with the stress for like no reason. The economy is stupid. You know, you buy torches for 150, you get them back, you sell them back for 5 gold. I'm just like, can I just keep it from turn to turn? But no, you can't do that. You get psychological problems for like no reason, and you just have to suck them up. You have to track regular skills, camping skills, positive quirks, negative quirks, experience levels, equipment levels, skill levels, diseases. It's a lot. It's a lot. It could afford to be pared back a little bit, but I will bitch about all of that later. Y'all have a good day.